I gotta be honest with you, today's video didn't go great, and I'm pretty upset about it because I feel like I wasn't expecting that much. It's not like I was trying to unify gravity or whatever. All I wanted to do was use this GT 710 to run some video games. But because it's such a dumpster, terrible crap card, I ran out of adjectives there, I wanted to supplement it with a different graphics card. Because there's some software called Lossless image scaling, which lets you offload things like frame gen and upscaling to a different graphics card, like this one, the RTX 5070. But the GT 710 really let me down in today's video. You couldn't just work, could you? You just had to screw me over for this, didn't you? Now, the testbed for today's shenanigans is built inside this Corsair 4500X case, which I'm getting a kickback for using in this video. But all you need to know about it is that curved glass. Ooh. CPU-wise, we're using an Intel 13700K so that we can feed all 12 frames to whatever main GPU we end up with, and 32 gigs of DDR5. Now we're going to do today's testing in stages, starting with the 5070 on its own to see how it performs, and then we'll compare the different upscaling technologies that we're going to use today, and then we'll start messing with the GT 710. But first, let's drop this in the test system. Now, the testing immediately went awry from the moment I boot up the system with the 5070 in it. Well, we've got such low power draw on the GPU, because our frame rate isn't great either, and neither is the frame pacing. Look at that. And then things got even better. But I mean, 200... I think it just crashed. It did. What is going on? Well, it seems like the graphics card was suffering some mild dysentery, which I'm sure has nothing to do with what I did to it in this video. Oh! It's crashed. I think it's crashed. And when I dropped a different 5070 into the system, aside from some capture card issues, stuff worked great. As is always the case, we're starting with Cyberpunk. This is at 1440p ultra settings on the 5070, and I think I need more overlays. I don't think I have enough numbers up on the screen, but we'll add more later if we feel like we need them. And then we're getting about 100 frames per second here because, well, the 5070 can handle this game. It can run it decently. But yeah, I mean, I think now that we have kind of like a baseline calibration run going, I'm just gonna turn on DLSS frame gen. And then I'm gonna try the scaling software one. I'm curious to see how they compare in a direct head-to-head. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is we've gone from 100-ish frames per second to about 170 frames per second. So there seems to be quite a lot of overhead in the DLSS frame gen. I'm curious to see how different the frame rate is that we're gonna get from the frame scaling software. But yeah, it's not nearly a doubling of frame rate. Now, because we're just using 2x and our base frame rate is very high, the result feels really good. Like, there isn't a noticeable thing going on here. Image quality-wise, with the two side by side, they look pretty similar to me. In practice, it feels like the frame gen's maybe a little bit softer, but that could just be placebo. But with that, let's try out lossless scaling. Oh. Okay, well, I am immediately intimidated by this software, but, you know, it looks like it's not that complicated. I mean, what we're initially interested in is frame gen. So there are these options. I'm guessing we want to do the higher number, right? Bigger means better almost always. Multiplier. It goes up to 20, which is crazy. I mean, that is exactly what we need for the GT 710, actually, come to think of it. So that is very exciting. We can have some fun with this because not only does it have the options for frame gen, there's also scaling. So we can use like tiny resolutions with lots of frame gen. We're basically just not going to have any real frame rate. So this is cool. But for now, we're just going to do 2x so that we can directly compare it to the previous NVIDIA result. Oh, I see. So we have to click here and then we go in here. I was lying, I didn't see. Because of how the frame rate is reported with lossless scaling, it wasn't immediately obvious to me what was going on. It's kind of confusing and freaking out, the NVIDIA overlay. Our frame rate's actually dropped, which is weird. I wasn't really expecting that. It looks very smooth, though. Does it look smoother than it did with it off? I think it does. So I think what we're seeing here is that the overlay is showing us the base frame rate, which means the overhead of actually rendering the frame gen is kind of massive. It is massive, and the base frame rate drop is basically the same as Nvidia's DLSS frame gen. Visually, I don't think it looks worse to me than the Nvidia one does. Side by side, they also look very similar, although you be the judge. Let me know if you can tell any differences here. Oh, it gives us an overlay. Oh, I'm so dumb and blind and confused. I'm kind of struggling to visually see a huge difference. Like, okay, let's leave it here. Look at the trees. Like, it looks very similar. Now at this point, I wanted to add in the GT 710, but initially use it as the frame gen GPU to see how much more base frame rate we get, which is where my struggles began for realsies this time. Okay, so the driver's corrupted or something, but I've reinstalled them now, and now it seems to be oh, what is this? Window movement issues aside, when I launched Lossless scaling, it only gave me the option to auto-select a GPU, which implied there was only one GPU in the system. Interestingly, Device Manager did actually pick up the GT 710, but when I told it to update the drivers, it just turned into a basic display adapter. But either way, outside of Device Manager, Windows didn't recognize the GT 710. I just figured out the problem. So, the Nvidia drivers that we have installed are the latest drivers which don't support a GT 710. So the drivers that I'm using for the RTX 5070 doesn't interact with the GT 710, so no software is correctly picking it up. As far as I can tell, the latest Nvidia drivers that support the GT 710 are 472.12. I then made a very embarrassing mistake. When I googled what the 5070's oldest drivers were, I got real excited when I saw 72. I just ignored the fact that there was a 5 in front of that number as opposed to a 4. What am I, a mathematician? How am I supposed to know the difference? Okay, so there is actually overlap. So I might be able to use just the oldest drivers that support this GPU. And then we might be good, okay. We were not good. Unsurprisingly, after DDU wiping the system and installing the GT 710 drivers, the system only recognized the GT 710 now. But then after connecting the system to the internet, suddenly the RTX 5070 showed up, which made me think I was making progress. But that delusion only lasted about as long as it took me to launch Lossless scaling because, well, it didn't find any other GPUs again. Very disappointing. I really wanted to have this work, but luckily I do have a more modern version of the crapola HDMI out card, an RX 6400. Oh wow, you can't hear it, but we've immediately got video out. That's exciting. Yeah, the signal's actually outputting via the little very noisy RX 6400. I just want chocolate all the time. I have a problem, and it's crashed, or something bad's happened. It's all of my chocolate desires that are cursing me. But even when I restarted the system, it did the same thing. It looked like it was posting, and then it would crash halfway through. What if I plug it into the RTX 5070? Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, it's just the moment that the drivers launch that it switches over to the 5070. Why did it stop? It's back. It's really screwing with me now. I'm feeling vulnerable here. It needs to stop. And then all that was left to do was install drivers for the RX 6400. Why am I getting recommended videos about Coachella? Like what? What have I ever done in my life that implies that that's something that I care about? And with the 6400 drivers installed, the main GPU switched to the RTX 5070. Initially, I launched Cyberpunk and immediately ran into another brick wall. During ray tracing, outdated or corrupted GPU drivers. Okay, well apparently I have to update the iGPU drivers. I then tried turning the iGPU off in the BIOS, which didn't help. I'm so over this, oh my god. And then when the system restarted, I realized I made a terrible mistake. Oh, I forgot to unplug my game drive. But unfortunately, nothing I did could stop Cyberpunk from crashing. So with that, as the graphics card spools up, I have made the very brave and valiant decision to just give up on Cyberpunk. So let's go and try Doom the Dark Ages and hope that it works. It did work! but not for long. Okay, so we are getting a base frame rate of about 65 frames per second. And as you can see, the RX 6400 ain't doing nothing. It's just sitting there. It's a little freeloader sipping on 7 watts for no reason. Well, not for no reason. It is giving us video out. I then turned on 2x lossless frame gen. Wow, would you look at that? We haven't lost any base frame rate, but now we've got a smoother gameplay experience. It definitely feels heavier straight off the bat, even though we're starting with a pretty good base frame rate. But let's unscale. Wow, there really is a noticeable difference. I mean, it still feels so good. And the game actually looks pretty good. We don't have any weird frame artifacts and stuff going on. This is pretty impressive. But then when I tried to switch the roles of the GPUs, it just refused to work. In Windows, I set the main GPU to be the RX 6400, but the game was still clearly running on the 5070. A problem which I just couldn't resolve. It's not working. So I decided in a last-ditch desperate attempt to swap the 5070 out for a waifu RX 7800 XT. My reasoning here was if we had both graphics cards be the same breed or whatever, that it should work. And it did! Oh yeah, it's running bad. Oh hell yeah! Oh, that means it's working! Oh! Oh, we've finally done it, maybe, potentially. Oh, it's once baiting me here, but I think... Yes! And it says 3.5 gigs in the bottom, which makes sense. Yay! It's running horribly, which means it's running on the RX 6400. And another hint that it's working in the way that we want it to is that the RX 7800 XT is we just got 2% utilization. This is exactly what we wanted. And now we're gonna use frame gen that's being processed by the 7800 XT to make this run way better. We're gonna fix this. And I started off with our frame gen set to 2x. So we're going from like 11 frames per second to 11 frames per second, the same base frame rate, but with 22, which means... Oh, it already looks very bad. It already looks so much worse than when we used the setup the other way around. And the reason for that is because of the low base frame rate. This is what we're working with at this point, and we're just using 2x. Next, I jumped to 4x. Now, our perceived frame rate has jumped up to 40 frames per second. Oh! Whoa! Look at that! It looks like we're traveling through a wormhole. That's amazing. Oh, that's so weird. It feels so terrible as well. I was wrong. There is more latency. Like, I love that every time. And then I doubled it again. Oh yeah, that's some smooth. It kind of looks like early AI video. Wow. But I think we can save this. I think we can make it actually run better. I then turned on FSR scaling in the app, which just kind of zoomed the game in, which was pretty weird. So to combat this, I changed the base resolution in the game to 720p. Then because it was using borderless window, it kind of minimized the game, so that when the scaling zoomed in, it filled the screen again. That's not gone well. We've got some form of predator language on the screen now. But we've got a much higher base frame rate of 24 frames per second because of the much lower resolution that we're using. It looks so much like early AI video. Wow. But we can push it even higher because I think a perceived frame rate of 180 isn't high enough. So I think what will fix all of this is by jumping our multiplier up to 15, which is not the highest yet. Wow, but it's still only giving us 180 frames per second perceived, apparently. Whoa, it looks so bad. I don't know. We haven't gained a higher, like, perceived frame rate, but it's looking so much worse. Oh, yeah, we don't even have a crosshair half of the time now. Okay, and then finally, we have to jump it up to 20x. It's actually making me seasick looking at what's happening here. It's crazy how it's still pegged at 180 in terms of the like pretend frame rate, but the image artifacting is just so much worse than before. Oh, everything's just warping around. This is the most I've broken a game visually and feeling wise in a while. This is some good stuff. Which brings me to the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and until the next video, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.